we were all right there in that room except for the kids had been outside by that time, and I heard the gunshot. And
so you heard the shot?
She was unaffected, not emotional.
And you talked about my demeanor. You said ordinary, non-emotional, nonchalant.
Correct.
What's your definition of nonchalant?
The Doomsday Cult mom questioning her police interview. So how will the jury interpret her demeanor? We're looking ahead to that detective returning to the stand. And what about the relatives who could be re-traumatized by the testimony and by Cult mom's actions in the courtroom? We're continuing to be a voice for the victims in the Daybell case. Plus, a 17-year-old defendant in a deadly stabbing case is back on the streets this morning. Some people are raising money for him and comparing him to Kyle Rittenhouse. Plus, exhibits from the Delphi murders trial finally being revealed to the public. We're hearing from the killer, and we're seeing one of the last images of his victims. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Tuesday morning to you. Welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. We've got a great show planned for you, so let's get started. Grab that cup of coffee or tea, whatever you like in the morning. It's time for my opening statement. He was their last true protector. Charles Vallow was the last true protector of JJ and Tylee. And he was killed while in the process of trying to save those kids. While prosecutors in Arizona are trying to seek justice for Charles Vallow's death, it is not lost on me what a hero he was. He knew that there was something going on that was wrong with his wife, Lori. He went to police. He tried to get somebody to intercede. Unfortunately, there was nothing legally the police could do. It's a coincidence, my friends, but it is a powerful one, that the trial seeking justice for Charles Vallow's death is happening during the month of April, because April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, and that is why I'm wearing bright blue today. Now, even though we may not be hearing a lot about Tylee and about JJ during this Arizona homicide case, those closest to Charles Vallow know that he loved those children beyond measure. And when you think about what the heart of this case really is, it was Charles trying to protect them. May we see justice for Charles, JJ, and Tylee with the outcome of this trial. Those three beautiful angels who are now together again in heaven deserve justice on earth. May they be remembered here always, and may they rest in peace. That's my opening statement, and we're going to continue talking about Lori Vallow Daybell's case in just a little while. But first, we have some big breaking news to share. This coming in overnight, the man accused of murdering Maryland mother Rachel Morin has been convicted by a jury. It took the jury less than an hour to come to their verdict in the case against defendant Victor Martinez-Hernandez. He was found guilty of killing Rachel, raping her, and kidnapping her. She was 37 years old at the time of her death and the mother of 5 beautiful children. She was out on a jog on a trail near Baltimore back in 2023 when this happened. And there were some other joggers who discovered Rachel's body on that trail after she was reported missing. It took several months to make an arrest, but thank goodness authorities got a DNA match from a home invasion in California, and that led to the defendant's arrest in Tulsa. Once again, a guilty verdict in the murder of beautiful mother of 5, Rachel Morin. I want to bring in now a very special guest. He is the attorney representing Rachel Morin's family, and he was there at the courthouse last night for the verdict. Randolph Rice on the program today. Randolph, what was the family's reaction when they heard the news?
I think there was a big sense of relief, Julie, that this was over with. You know, it doesn't bring Rachel back. Certainly, they are distraught about the fact that they've lost Rachel and they're never going to see her again. But 19 months, they are now relieved that this man has been convicted and he won't hurt anybody else.
Right, Randolph. You know, this guy, as you know, he's got quite a history. He's accused of doing a murder in El Salvador, as I understand it, and then he makes his way back into our country illegally, made his way in here, I believe, 3 times when he should have not been here at all. And now he's got that case in California involving the assault of a young girl and her mother. This has to be so troubling on so many levels for the Morin family, because not only was their beautiful loved one taken away by what seems to be a very dangerous predator. And Rachel was doing something that's not dangerous. She was out for a jog. How is the family coming to terms with how someone's life can be taken in an instant when they're not doing anything that's even dangerous?
Yeah, I mean, that's been a common theme, that this certainly was a preventable crime because of the fact that they stopped this guy 3 times at the border and then he made it across the 4th time, like you mentioned. But, you know, trying to put the pieces together as sort of how this all happened, I don't know that they're ever going to be able to figure that out, because it is just such a tragic event. And like you said, Julie, going out for a walk and all of a sudden you're snatched off the trail, dragged 150 feet and raped and murdered in a tunnel. You know, it's just a sad story for somebody just trying to enjoy their life.
Right. I would think for the family, it would make them just hesitant to live. It's unspeakable what happened to Rachel. Randolph, a lot of people wondering how the family is doing, in particular Rachel's kids. What can you share with us this morning about them?
Well, 2 of them actually testified at the beginning of the trial, and it was an incredibly emotional day to hear them talk about the last time that they texted their mother, which was literally seconds before she was snatched from that trail. And one of her daughters broke down in the stand. She began crying outside the courtroom. We could hear her crying. Just the thought of having a daughter that's growing up and now without a mother, it's just heartbreaking.
It really is. Randolph, please give the Morin family our very best from all of us here on Opening Statements and at Court TV. They've still got a lot of healing ahead of them, certainly, but we're so thankful to see them getting the justice that they deserve. We're going to keep Rachel in our hearts moving forward. We're not forgetting about her just because this case is closed. Randolph, kindly stay with us, please, because what we want to do now is turn to our other major top story this morning, and that is the trial going on in Arizona for Lori Vallow Daybell. It's going to resume with a detective taking the stand today to be cross-examined some more by Ms. Daybell, who's acting as her own attorney. Here's the detective here. She interviewed Lori Vallow Daybell right after Charles Vallow was killed, and she recalled for the jury the behavior that Lori exhibited that day. Take a look.
What was Lori's demeanor in the car with her brother and you and Moffett?
She was unaffected, not emotional. The best description I can give is that she chattered the whole way, basically back to the house. Not upset, almost not happy, but just really unaffected by everything that was going on. It was kind of striking.
Lori then got her chance to ask the detective about what her demeanor was like at the time of that interview. Let's take a look.
Do you have a degree in psychology?
I do not.
Do you know what a person should act like if they're in a stressful situation?
So there isn't one way to act. There's just behavior that is striking.
Striking behavior.
Correct.
Okay.
The jury got to see the interview clips. There it is. We've watched that one once or twice here on Court TV. Look at her smiling. Her husband's dead, just shot and killed, and look at her. So what do you think the jury might be thinking of this and her behavior? Let's talk about that. I want to bring in very seasoned trial attorney and Professor Melba Pearson on the program with us. Melba, good morning. These interviews, what do you think is going through the minds of the members of that jury?
Well, good morning, Julie. And I think the jury is going to be horrified because they, again, even though we advise jurors not to place themselves, necessarily in the shoes of anyone in the courtroom, human nature is to be like, wait a minute, if I lost somebody that was so close to me, my spouse, something along those lines, and in such a violent way, I certainly wouldn't be giggling like a schoolgirl. I'd be maybe hysterical crying, but at least maybe shell-shocked. There's certain behaviors that human beings expect when placed in this type of situation. So it defies common sense and logic that you'd be in such a traumatic situation and be giggling away. So I think that's going to have a very powerful effect on the jury, and it's definitely not going to look good for the defendant.
No, but you're so right. I have another clip I want to play for you now. Here's where Cult Mom's in the interview, and she says she heard the gunshot.
Yeah, and then I was kind of turned around, and we were all right there in that room except for the kids had been outside by that time, and I heard the gunshot. And
So you heard the shot? Did you actually see the shot, or did you just hear it?
I had gone around to the kitchen to get away from him, and so back around. So I don't know if you went in the house.
I didn't, so I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, so I didn't see the shot. I heard it, and then I came back around and I saw that he was on the ground.
Melba, this is news to me. I gotta tell you, we've been following this one for a while, and it was always my understanding that Cult Mom was out buying flip-flops and going through the drive-thru at Burger King. Who knew she was there? What's your reaction? Yeah, right.
I mean, my reaction to that is, listen, the truth doesn't change. So
Bingo.
The fact of the matter is, if you were at the drive-thru, then that's not going to change when you come to court, or when you're testifying or speaking to law enforcement. You're not going to be giving a different variety of versions of events. The truth is a truth is a truth. So she slipped up and she told on herself. And the jury's going to take very much note of that.
Yeah, Melba, you're so right. The truth doesn't change. Cult Mom, boy, she's something else here. Just, I mean, can you believe anything she says? Let's listen to a clip now. This is where she's calling the insurance company. We know she wasn't happy that Charles put the benefits in Kay's name. His sister, Kay Woodcock, she became the beneficiary because he got suspicious of Lori. Let's watch.
What was the date of Mr. Vallow's passing? July 11th. And what was the cause of his passing? Well, he was shot. Okay, so I don't know how I want to put that. Okay, all right. And I hate to ask, but is it? Yeah, you can just say yes or no. Was it a homicide? No, it was an accident. An accident, okay.
Underscoring the point that a lawyer would know that, homicides can be accidental. That's a type of homicide. Melba, I see what she was getting at there. I know you didn't want to say murder. And like you said a moment ago, the truth doesn't change. What did you think about that clip?
Yeah, again, that clip continues to contradict everything that she's saying. Either she's there, she's not there, she heard the shot, she didn't hear the shot. Again, at the end of the day, she's trying to get that money. So she's trying to be very measured in what she says so that she's not, again, confessing in some way, shape, or form, but she still wants to make sure she gets access to that money. And lo and behold, she finds out that she cannot, and that did not make her very happy.
And Melba, thank you for bringing us back to, the motivation here, money. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, we think, oh, why not just divorce? Well, but then there wouldn't be the potential payout that Cult Mom thought was going to be there. Melba Pearson, I'm so glad you're on the show. Stand by kindly, please. We're going to hit our first break of the hour. When we come back, here's what's coming up for you on Opening Statements.
Honey?
Yes.
Because I may have to spend the rest of my life here, or...
Stop talking about it. That's not true. Okay.
Brand new phone calls and interrogation videos of convicted killer Richard Allen. He was convicted in the Delphi murders case. We're going to break it down for you live here this morning. Plus, the teen suspect in the deadly track meet stabbing released on bond. This is his defense fund keeps on growing.
Daybell.
Already convicted for the murders of her children.
Doomsday Cult mom is now lawyer Lori.
She's representing herself.
On charges of conspiring to murder her fourth husband.
She said, I can murder you now.
She really thinks she's equipped to try this case.
She appears very sure of herself.
I have real trial experience.
It's going to be a strange trial. We'll see how it plays out.
The Cult Mom Conspiracy Trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Now for what's trending in true crime. The 17-year-old charged in the stabbing death of another teen has now been released on bond. Carmelo Anthony had been in custody since his April 2nd arrest. He's accused of murdering 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet near Dallas, Texas. Anthony told police that he was acting in self-defense when he stabbed Austin to death. Now, as for Anthony's bond details, here they are. He's out on a $250,000 bond. It was reduced from a $1 million bond. He's on 24/7 supervision, i.e. house arrest, no access to social media. WFAA caught up with his defense attorney after Monday's hearing, who says he wants the focus to remain on the facts.
This is a tragedy all the way around for both families. Rushing to judgment, trial by public perception and trial by media is not how we ensure justice is done. We are confident that after a full investigation, that the truth will come out.
The public support for Anthony's defense has been a polarizing topic, with over $420,000 raised to help his long-term defense. We're asking this morning, why do you believe so many people are donating to his fund? Let's bring in our power panel. With me this morning, attorneys Melba Pearson and Randolph Rice, and retired NYPD detective Mike Alcazar. Good morning to you all. So let's go around the room, starting first with so much money. I believe at last check it was at $500,000 in this event had just happened. Mike Alcazar, would you start us off this morning?
Sure. As of recent events, we've seen a lot of support for people going to trial. I think people perhaps see their children or themselves, in the suspects, and that's what's drawing a lot of the funding. So I think people are just concerned that they want a good trial, a fair trial for the individual, and that, people, like the lawyer said, they don't want it, tried in Instagram with the little bit of clips of information that's being released. As we know, when we go to trial, there's a lot more information, a lot more witness testimony, what was said during the altercation, what the victim did, what the suspect did, and any kind of premeditation. So it's going to be a long investigation, and it's going to be revealed during the trial.
I appreciate it, Mike. Melba, to you next, please. Why do you think so many people are jumping in to donate here?
Yeah, I'm going to co-sign what my colleague said, that I think there's a lot of sympathy from the standpoint of they see a young man, 17 years old, no prior contact with the criminal justice system. And again, there's so many questions as to what happened. Was this self-defense? Did he snap? Is there mental health involved? And so many times, many families can't, especially if they come from, and I'm not going to make any judgments here, but maybe they come from an under-resourced community, or again, hardworking, just don't have a ton of money and can't necessarily surface all of those issues because they cannot afford to have private counsel sometimes. And I'm never going to besmirch the public defenders. but they can be overwhelmed, and they're trying to do what they can on limited budgets. Private defense attorneys have a lot more latitude. So I think people have seen that and see how this plays out in the criminal justice system, and again, want to ensure that fairness by donating so that a robust defense can be presented, and then the jury has a full picture to make a decision one way or the other.
Sure. Randolph Rice, last but not least, certainly on this point, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I certainly think that the reason you're seeing so many people donate is because of the original high bond. When you see a $1 million high bond and this getting coverage by the media, it certainly forces a lot of people into their, their mindset of, how do I help? How do I make this right? Because maybe they believe that that $1 million bond was unjust. So they want to do something to help out. Now, certainly we saw that that was reduced, but still those people want to get involved.
Excellent points from you all. I have a clip from Austin Metcalf's father, and this is where he's being interviewed by a TV station, WFAA. Let's take a listen to where he says the focus needs to be.
I want to make this very clear. This is not a race issue. This is not a black and white issue. I don't want someone stepping up on a soapbox trying to politicize this. I don't appreciate some of the remarks I've seen online that people say there was this fight and they don't know, they weren't there. I know the truth. So unless you were there, unless you saw it, don't spread gossip.
Yeah, this dad is right. This dad is right. All too often we see people speaking out, oftentimes very loudly, who haven't been part of the case, who are not witnesses to the event that's in question. So certainly our hearts go out to him for the loss of his son. And Austin Metcalf was a twin. His twin brother, this perhaps was one of the facts that broke my heart the most. He held his brother in his arms as he passed away that day. Just horrible. And so to this father's point, this grieving father has to deal with the loss of his son, the criminal case ahead for the young man accused of murdering his son. But then he's also dealing with loudmouths on social media who are doing a comparison of Mr. Carmelo Anthony, the young man who's accused in this one, to another very high-profile homicide defendant. Let's take a look.
Now, I'll be the first to tell you, these cases are not the same, the Rittenhouse and the Carmelo Anthony. But you see how certain types of people will see one thing as self-defense and another thing as cold-blooded murder? There's going to be a lot of people that don't like this point of view.
All right, so that's not the only clip on social. There are lots of, what do they call them, content creators who are putting lots out about this. So we took a look at a couple comparisons for you this morning. So both of these defendants had public defense funds. Rittenhouse's raised over $500,000. Anthony's, as you see, getting close to that $500,000 mark. Rittenhouse claimed self-defense, as we all know. We broadcasted his trial. And he was acquitted. Anthony's case, at the early stage, we know, he said self-defense initially to police, and so assuming that will be the defense presented at trial, which he is awaiting. So the question we have for our incredible power panel this morning, is this a fair comparison that's being drawn in the public? I'm going to go in the reverse order this time. Randolph, let me begin with you. Your thoughts, please.
Absolutely not. This is a completely separate situation. No two cases are the same. And to comment on the fact that the internet content creators, they're doing this because they know if they say something that is controversial, that ultimately gets into somebody's social media feed. The algorithms pick that up and it starts pushing it to more and more people, and they want views. And so the more extreme, the more radical thing that they say, the more views they get, which is unfortunate in this case.
Mm-hmm. You're so right, Randolph. It's something I wish we had more time. I could go on and on with all of the disinformation that's put out there, misinformation, all of it on many different cases. Melba, let me go to you next, please. Your thoughts, is this comparison fair?
I agree. I don't think this is a fair comparison. When you look at the two cases, and again, this may not be a popular view, but, Kyle Rittenhouse went looking for problems. Like, he left his home, crossed state lines, and then went and inserted himself into a very volatile situation. That's very different than two kids at a track meet, not quite sure what caused what, but it's from one tent to another, and there was an altercation, something like that. This is a situation where you have kids in a competitive situation. They don't know each other. They don't have a history, but still they're teens in a more contained situation versus somebody who crosses state lines, goes get a gun, and then inserts themselves into a dangerous situation. So I don't see the comparison there. I think, again, people are very much trying to pick up on the racial aspect of this. There's no clear indication that there was racial animus or anything along those lines. So I don't think we need to start going down that path at all. Again, this was very different with Kyle Rittenhouse because he went to an actual protest that was surrounding police brutality and Black Lives Matter and all of that. Again, very, very different perspectives and reasons for being present.
Right. Excellent points, Melba. Thank you. Mike Alcazar, last but not least, certainly want your points here, please.
I'm going to go the opposite way. It's going to be popular, but it's certainly for the clicks, right? Influencers, they want to do that. Now, I can see the comparison where they're saying that, did Anthony bring himself, that wasn't his high school tent? Did he bring a weapon there? Was it premeditated? So was this planned? Was he expecting some kind of trouble? And I can see where the defense will challenge that, and the prosecution will raise that. So I can see why people are bringing it up, again, other than the clicks, but it's reasonable to do a little bit of a comparison. I mean, a bit of a stretch, but a little bit of a comparison, two individuals putting themselves in a situation where something may occur.
Sure, certainly fair point. Thank you for making that, Mike Alcazar. Big thanks to our esteemed power panel this morning. We love having you all on this show. We've got to say goodbye. You all have busy careers. I need to let you all go now. Melba Pearson, Mike Alcazar, Randolph Rice, thank you all for your insight and your expertise. We'll see you soon. Still to come here on Opening Statements.
Either you had that gun or somebody had that gun. There's no way that round gets on that property where these two girls were killed without that gun being there.
That was always a sticking point for me. How about you? That unspent round that cycled through Richard Allen's gun, there it is. We're finally seeing it. This piece of evidence, among others, finally being made public after this case, where so much has been done under seal. When we come back, we're analyzing it all for you. Plus, we're analyzing Cult Mom and the surviving victims in her case. We're doing it with our psychology expert and talking about what it may be doing to these victims going through the process of trial. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This morning, we're shining a spotlight on incredible new footage obtained in the case of the Delphi murders. We're now able to see the last known photo of Abby Williams and Libby German, the victims in this horrific case. These two are the young children who were murdered by Richard Allen in the year 2017 in Delphi, Indiana. Allen was recently found guilty, you'll recall, and sentenced to spend 130 years in prison. And now, thanks to this newly released evidence, we can also go inside of Richard Allen's case, inside his jail cell, and inside of his interrogation. Take a look.
You're gonna pay for what you've done to my wife. What am I doing? You wanna with me, but you leave my wife out of this. Leave me out of it.
No, you're involved in this. You're around there, Rick.
No, it's not.
I can see you're getting off. I understand.
I am off. Did you not see my wife?
Did you not see these two girls dead? No, that's what happened. You got off, Adam. Dragged them down a hill, and you killed. You told me you didn't.
I didn't kill any.
You're upset for a reason, not because
you guys are trying to kill somebody.
You're trying to tell me that I'm not making this round up, Rick. It is what it is.
I'm done talking. Arrest me.
Happy to.
Oh, fiery exchange right there. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to dig in big time right now. And fortunately, we have a resident case expert here in the studio to help me do that. Barbara McDonald, Court TV, senior producer with our documentary unit, and someone who's followed the case from its inception. You did the Down the Hill podcast on this. And so this was one you followed literally start to finish, and now here we are. You just were mailed this piece of evidence. Tell you how fresh this is. My friends, Barbara's still going through it. Look, just got this.
Thumb driving mail, snail mail.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, it's hours upon hours of exhibits.
So it's like 3 hours of interrogation videos. It's probably an hour and 15 minutes or so of confession, phone calls. Now, the entire hour and 15 isn't him confessing, but it's the phone calls. And then we got some video, drone video of the trails. We got some photos, like of the bullet and the gun that were collected and things like that. But we didn't get everything. A lot is not being released. We didn't get any of the crime scene photos. Any of the graphic images, all of that was held back, and many other files were as well.
Sure. So these are things, now that the case is closed, you can understand, members of the media, you know, the court is allowing these things to be made public. So you were one of the members who sat in the courtroom during the trial. Folks like yourself are receiving these things in the mail this week. Barbara, take us back. A moment ago, we saw that fiery exchange. Give us some context to that, if you would.
So that was his second interrogation. That happened leading right into his arrest. In fact, just minutes after that, he's arrested and placed in handcuffs. And this was him going in voluntarily to talk to them. He wanted to pick up his car that had been seized in the search warrant 2 weeks prior, and they said, sure, come on down and you can have your car back. So he and his wife show up thinking that they're going to pick up their car, and instead they're told, oh, we just have a couple of quick questions for you, and led into interrogation rooms.
Okay, so this is helpful. So this is after, and he cooperated way back when. He talked to police. I remember we knew
back in 2017, he said, I'd been out at the trails. He said, I didn't see Abby or Libby, but I was out there that day.
He put himself there, which was always something, I know just as someone following it as closely as I could, having not seen the trial like you did, that was always big for me. The other big thing for me was the confession to his wife. We have an audio clip of this. This was huge. Let's take a listen to him admitting to doing it.
Well, I need to tell you something anyway.
Okay. Are you sure you want to talk to me over the phone?
I think I have to.
Okay.
I need you to know that I did this.
What? No. No, you didn't, dear. There's no way. There's no way, dear.
Love me.
There it is, the confession. Barbara, for anybody that had any doubt, that really puts it to bed, hearing the confession come from his mouth. His wife's in denial, but he is not. Was that a moment for the jury? Did you see any reactions, if you recall?
The jury was quite stoic during the playing of these calls. They were paying attention, but it was hard to tell which way they were leaning. It is important to note, though, when that call was made, it was about a month after he'd been diagnosed as being psychotic, and about 3 weeks after he'd been given the first dose of an antipsychotic medication. The prison logs indicated that that course of treatment hadn't yet started to work, and he was given another course of that treatment a week after that phone call was made. And he was also in solitary confinement in a maximum security prison. So, you know, one could argue that his conditions contributed to his mental decline. He also lost a tremendous amount of weight in jail, about 80 or 90 pounds at one point.
I remember you telling us about this, that he was eating his papers.
He was eating papers, he was eating his own waste, he was banging his head into the cell. A lot of really disturbing behavior that led to that diagnosis.
I would love to, I don't think we have a lot of time to spend on this, but curious, did the state push back on that? Did they say he was feigning it?
They said that the period of psychosis was shorter, and that by the time he was making these calls, he was no longer psychotic. Was their their version of the events. The defense did put on a psychologist, a forensic psychologist, who said that no, she believed he still was psychotic at the time. So
interesting.
The jury clearly went with the state.
Sure. Barbara, I want to ask you about the round, the unspent round that was deemed to have cycled through his gun. This was always, for me, something that I couldn't get past. He denied it, though, right? This is a video
in the
of
interrogation. He denies that's his round.
Yeah.
No way.
And exactly where at the scene, if you could kind of describe for us, it was near one of the children,
It was near
right?
Liberty German's foot. It was about 6 inches from her foot, in between the bodies of the two girls, and it was pointing down into the ground. So I believe it was only that, and forgive me, the stamp end, is that what it's called? The back end that says Winchester?
Sure.
That's what
Where
was
the
showing up out of the ground. Yes.
You could see the, okay.
So it was down
Yeah.
like this in the ground.
Ah, okay. Boy, that's interesting. And a gun was not used to kill these precious
they
children.
do believe that perhaps a gun was used to scare the girls and gain control of them to get them to go with him. But there's no definitive proof other than this bullet at the scene that a gun was used in that way.
Sure. Did the state theorize that he might have had one in the chamber and
yes,
racked
and he
it
said he did typically carry that way. That when he did carry his gun, now he says he didn't have his gun the day that the girls were abducted and killed, that he did voluntarily go out to the trails. He said that, but he said, I did not have a gun or a knife with me. But he said when he did carry his gun, he did typically have one chambered.
Yeah, so that would make sense. Anybody who knows, you could easily.
Right, and if you're perhaps making the noise to scare the girls into compliance, that's going to fly out.
Right. Boy, this is something. Barbara, I look forward to hearing more from you as you continue pouring through this evidence. Barbara McDonald, thank you so much.
Julie.
And my friends at home, stay with us. We're not done. Coming up next, here's what we've got.
He called and he said, he's dead. I Googled him and he's dead. Alex killed him yesterday. And I mean, that was just like, it was horrible.
Is Cult Mom re-traumatizing these brave survivors? Our psychology expert weighs in next.
The entire family was slaughtered.
I tried to get them out. I wish they got it. It never happened.
That's not really how God works, is it?
Interview with a Killer. New episode, Sunday at 8 on Court TV.
Is Karen Reed a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
Karen Reed was brave. We know who did it.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage coming soon following jury selection on Court TV.
Now for what's tipping the scales of justice, some of the people testifying against Lori Daybell at her homicide trial have one big thing in common. They are victims. For example, Alex Cox lost his niece, Tylee, and his nephew, JJ. Kay Woodcock lost her brother, Charles, and her grandson, JJ. Lori's son, Colby Ryan, lost his brother and sister. Here, Colby talks about watching Kay on the stand.
To watch someone that you care about get in that position and hear and have to relive their trauma in front of everybody while answering questions and realizes that this is a reality is really hard.
So is this trial re-traumatizing the surviving victims? And will these victims tip the scales with the jury? Let's bring in psychology expert Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Dr. Sue, how might these family members be coping with this privately? You know, we see them publicly in the courtroom. I can't even imagine what it's like privately for them.
Well, privately, it's probably extremely, extremely difficult. Look, anytime that you're up on the stand can be nerve-wracking, but when you're up on the stand and you're testifying and reliving over and over the trauma that you experienced the first time that you heard of what happened is oftentimes unbearable, and it can lead to all kinds of symptoms. One thing that people have a lot when they're going through grief is what is known as post-traumatic stress disorder, and that can cause severe anxiety, trouble sleeping, and flashbacks of the events that happen, which can put you in to a very difficult emotional state. I think all the people that you see testifying right now, you can look at their eyes, Julie, and see the pain that is inside of them. You know, especially that clip that we just saw of Lori's son. Just look at his eyes. I mean, it's filled and filled with sadness.
You're so right, Dr. Sue. I have another clip I want to play for you now. This is where Lori's cross-examining her brother, Adam Cox.
Did you see with your eyes, or hear with your ears, or personally witness me conspire with my brother, Alex Cox, to murder my husband, Charles Vallow?
No.
Thank you. No more questions.
It's hard to imagine what it's like to be in his position, isn't it, Dr. Sue? He's been such a great advocate for those children. As you know, he does the podcast in their memory. And then this is his sister on trial for the homicide of his brother-in-law, who he really liked. He had a world of respect for Charles Vallow. What do you think might be going through Adam's mind?
When I look at Adam, what I see on that stand is somebody that clearly doesn't want to be there. In addition, he's very angry, but I think what is behind that anger is a lot of sadness. That is often what is behind anger. And to be there and look her in the face and have to answer these questions where he knows inside, I believe, you know, what really happened here. It's so difficult to compose yourself, Julie, and not, you know, want to leap over and do something that probably isn't the best thing to do. But he is so composed, but he's up there and he's thinking of the two children, I'm sure, all of the time that were murdered. It's just excruciatingly painful to go through this. And it's his sister, and he has to testify against her. There is nothing good here that is happening emotionally.
No. Well said, Dr. Sue. I really appreciate that point you made about the restraint, too. I think that's something that maybe we're not thinking about. We know it's painful, but it's probably hard to sit there and look at her and take questions from her. I've got another example for you now. This is Kay Woodcock, Charles' sister, JJ's grandma, up on the stand. Let's watch.
And you weren't really aware of the events that happened that morning, were you?
The morning of his murder?
Of July 11th?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, Dr. Sue, and I know you've seen more than just that little clip of Kay Woodcock.
Yes.
What do you see when you're listening and watching Kay's responses?
A couple things there. You know, one, I see that she's really disgusted with the questions that are being asked by Lori, and to be perfectly honest, you know, so am I. And I think a lot of people are. You know, this is, look at her face right there, the smirks, the smiles. It's as if, like, Lori, what are you doing? What are you asking me? This is crazy what is happening right now. Maybe she's thinking you're just here trying to get yourself off of this charge. We all know what happened. We've known you for years. We've seen the changes in your mental health over the years, the ups and downs, the times when you're one way and then you're another. And I think in a way she is disgusted that she has to be up on that stand and recant these things over and over that truly do not make logical sense.
Right, I'm with you, Dr. Sue. As we end this segment, would love your advice for all of these incredibly strong people that are victims in this case and also critical witnesses for the case as well. If you could talk to them, what would you share with them about the healing process?
I would say, you know, after you testify and you go home, take time for yourself to relax, regroup, and also know that when you go back in to testify each day, you are doing something that is very positive and good to put somebody behind for a long, long time. And that is what can get you through every day. But please take care of yourself. Let the feelings out. Don't hold them in after you're done your testimony.
Excellent advice. Dr. Sue, you're the best. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. We'll see you soon. And my friends, we're not done here on Court TV. This is all for opening statements. Watch the episode again if you like. Share it with your friends. We're here every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern, giving you coffee in court.